Hello, beautiful nerds. My name is Monty Paulson. I lead the Passive House team at RDH Building Science. I'm really happy to see you. It's my privilege to welcome you all to the Global Passive House Happy Hour hosted by Passive House Accelerator. This is a consciously inclusive gathering. We welcome people from all Passive House communities, as well as those interested in electrification, embodied carbon, climate adaptation, indoor air quality, and that little job of retrofitting 6 billion buildings in our lifetime. So please turn on your cameras. We want to see you. Please turn on your microphones just for a minute and join me in a toast. Gotta show the right side of this. To Passive House Trust, which has been doing a fantastic online conference every Wednesday for the last few weeks and for the next few weeks. To Passive House Trust.
Passive House Trust.
You're here.
Passive House Trust.
Here. House. Please let me introduce my co-host in Philadelphia, Prudence Ferreira.
Hey everyone, great to see you. I'm still alive here in Philly. We're mounting drama, but in my neighborhood, it's nice and calm. The leaves are beautiful. They crunch under your feet. Life goes on, and we're still here for another Wednesday together. And I'm really thankful for that. So thank you all for joining. For those of you who I don't know, welcome. It's great to see your smiling face. My name is Prudence Ferreira, and I lead the Passive House practice for Morrison Hirschfield in US and Canada. And I don't have any words of wisdom today, just a lot of thankfulness and gratefulness in my heart to have such a great community to be a part of. So tonight, our guest is Maren Longhurst. I've known Maren for as long as she's been in the Passive House world. I actually got to be roommates with her a couple of times for conferences and CPHC trainings. She is an all-around great gal in the building science coordinator at Sam Rodell Architects. They're a firm in the Pacific Northwest, and they do custom homes, they do institutional and commercial projects throughout the Pacific Northwest, spanning from Montana through the Puget Sound. And Maren has supervised the certification of most of their PHIUS Plus projects, which number in the double digits by now. And actually, I think most of the projects they work on, because they are a firm that really focuses primarily on Passive House, they're all modeled in WUFI. Maren is also a certified PHIUS CPHC trainer, and she's the vice chair of the Passive House Alliance US Council, representing the Northwest region, which is Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. And we're very lucky to get to hear from her tonight on a pretty innovative project. As Monty mentioned, it's a rammed earth Passive House, certified to PHIUS Plus 2015. Thank you so much for joining us, Maren.
Thank you, Prudence. I don't know if you mentioned Prudence was my CPHC trainer 100 years ago. So Prudence was really my first introduction into the world of Passive House. So thank you for that introduction, and I'm excited to share with you this project. So I've got a couple of slides first, Zach.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, you go. Sorry about that.
Thanks. So as Prudence said, my name is Maren Longhurst. I work for Sam Rodell Architects in Spokane, Washington. So I'm sure all of you around the world know where the Pacific Northwest is. I know Seattle and Portland, but do you know the inland Northwest? Spokane is the epicenter of this eastern subregion of the Pacific Northwest on the other side of the mountains, and different in almost every way, right, Zach?
Yes, I can attest to this.
Yep. Our motto over here is near nature and near perfect, but we do try to keep that a secret. The only thing we're missing over here is the ocean, but we make up for that by the vast quantity of lakes. So when you ask someone about their weekend plans, they will almost always say, oh, we're going to the lake. And you know just to not ask which lake. It's just the idea of it. So like Prudence said, we've designed passive house projects throughout the Pacific Northwest, from Washington, Idaho, Montana, and beyond. We have several certified projects and an institutional project that won the PHIUS design competition a few years ago. And this is our office in the historic steam plant building, downtown Spokane. So the project I'd like to talk today was built on this hillside with this amazing view. And now I will give the screen back to Zach so he can share the video.
All right, here comes.
I'm Diane Rutherford.
And I'm Rob Rutherford. I wanted to have an energy efficient house. In fact, the first time I met with Sam, I told him I wanted to build a house, an earth home in a cave in the side of a hill. And that was not practical. But we did want to have an energy efficient house. So Sam made all that happen. Well, he had a little sample in his office up on a shelf. One day I kind of pointed at it and said, "What's that?" And he started talking about rammed earth. And then that fit really well with the energy efficiency of this passive house.
It fits in with nature. It's not, even the landscaping and everything isn't something that you wouldn't see in nature.
We didn't want to have one of these garish McMansions that stand out. We wanted it to kind of blend in, and I think with the rammed earth helps that happen, and the outside is darker and kind of blends in better, and we really appreciate that Sam thought of all those things.
I think it looks like the Grand Canyon colors, and I just love it because it's part of nature.
Thank you, Zach. I'll go back to the slideshow. So I love this quote, and I do try to keep it in mind when we're approaching a new project. We owe it to the fields that our houses will not be the inferiors of the virgin land they have replaced. We owe it to the worms and the trees that the buildings we cover them with will stand as promises of the highest and most intelligent kinds of happiness. And that's from Alain de Botton, The Architecture of Happiness. So when you're given a site like this, with this spectacular view, and the client asks for a cave, what do? We looked to the theory of prospect and refuge, which tries to describe why certain environments feel secure and meet basic human psychological needs by providing people with the capacity to observe or prospect without being seen, or refuge. The result was a cave, conceptually speaking, or a home with massive privacy walls on the north aspect, facing the public road, and mostly transparent walls to the south on the lake side of the house. The combination of design, materiality, and passive house principles created a space that offers not just visual and psychological security, but also physical comfort and the knowledge that this building will stand for generations. The building's skin has three main components: SIREWALL, or structural insulated rammed earth wall, a Parklex panelized rain screen, and Unilex glazing. So the materiality here combines a very natural biophilic palette with superior technological performance. This slide shows the Parklex panel, which is composed of a real natural wood veneer bonded to a substrate with resin for a zero maintenance, fireproof, weatherproof rain screen. They call it, at Parklex, they call it technical wood. The high performance of the Unilex triple glazed windows allowed us to really take advantage of the views with floor to ceiling glass and super insulated transitions that appear almost seamless from the interior to the exterior. And the third component of the skin, SIREWALL, is a technologically advanced refinement of an ancient building practice. It represents the transformation of a historically proven but unsophisticated and limited building material into an effective contemporary architectural medium. I'm going to talk a little bit about SIREWALL just because I think it's something that really sets this project apart. We partnered with the company located on Salt Spring Island in British Columbia that developed SIREWALL. SIRE stands for Structural Insulated Rammed Earth. And this is an insulated engineered sandstone wall with the strength of reinforced concrete and a high R value combined with thermal mass. And just a disclaimer, we are a partner from SIREWALL, but we aren't paid for this shout out. We just really love the product. And we love that we had the opportunity to use it here. In contrast to many contemporary building materials, as well as really most consumer products today, SIREWALL is not generic, prefabricated, or faux anything. SIREWALL is regional, handcrafted, and structurally expressive. SIREWALL is an engineered product. It's made of locally sourced materials. It's highly durable, weather resistant, mold and pest proof, and it's also beautifully handcrafted. So you can see this whole list of benefits that are rare in any other combination, any other assembly. That SIREWALL offers durability, a timeless beauty, acoustic properties, maintenance free, and a whole host of benefits. Probably the top benefit in our consideration was the durability of the product. SIREWALL is built to last. The raw material is just soil, but the finished product is like stone. So a 3,500 PSI water jet that could cut through a 2x4 would barely abrade the SIREWALL surface. The engineering specs are similar to a concrete wall with steel reinforcement embedded in the rammed earth layers.
Wow. Beautiful.
So before construction begins, the SIREWALL project manager will visit local gravel pits to collect samples of potential material. And the material is taken from just above the bedrock level where they can economically harvest consistent quality of material, which is totally free of organic matter. And because SIREWALL uses material that is too fine for road construction, which is the typical use for the source material, the walls are actually built with a waste material. So that means that the cost and the carbon footprint embedded in this choice of material is extremely low in comparison to most other building materials. The material for our project, I believe it came from within a 15-minute drive from the project site. Soil samples collected from the potential sources are evaluated using computer analysis to predict the optimum soil mix. And then sample material cylinders are rammed and sent to independent labs for testing so that we have hard engineering data specific to the project for the structural engineers to work with. This is a typical SIREWALL assembly. So it sits on a reinforced concrete footing with a layer of insulation sandwiched between two layers of rammed earth, reinforced with steel, and then capped with a top plate to hold the roof structure. Another great benefit of SIREWALL is that it is inorganic. Organic materials are not only susceptible to mold and rot, pests and fire, they actually exist within a life cycle that inevitably ends with either decay, burning, or becoming food for another organism. When we build with organic materials, the process that we use to delay the course of nature usually involves adding toxic chemicals or carcinogens. Building with an inorganic material creates an architecture that is durable, non-toxic, healthy, and comfortable. So again, organic materials decay. They return to the earth from whence they came. And you all know the story, the old folk tale, the first little piggy and the second little piggy chose organic material, prioritizing the initial cost, and pig number 3 built with an inorganic material, prioritizing durability over cost, and we know how that story ended. So typically when you think of a rammed earth wall, you might think of a hot desert climate, southern Arizona or something, where you can really reap the benefit of the wall absorbing heat during the day and then releasing that heat back at night. But SIREWALL, with its layer of insulation embedded in the rammed earth, really becomes suitable for just about any climate. This is an interesting study done by the British Columbia Institute of Technology. So the top graph shows the outside conditions over the course of a week with relative humidity in blue and outside temperature in red. You can see a pretty wide fluctuation from 38 degrees Fahrenheit up to 54 degrees temperature. And also pretty big fluctuations in relative humidity. The bottom graph shows the same 1 week period with sensors inside unoccupied, unheated SIREWALL home over the same time period. The extremes are almost completely flattened, and you can see not only the benefit of thermal lag, but also the effect of hydric buffering. So the rammed earth material actually absorbs excess moisture from the air and then releases it over time as the relative humidity fluctuates. And so in our project with 8 inches of rigid foam in the wall, the total R value is just about R33. And this study actually showed that an R33 wall assembly, this might seem low, especially for our climate zone 6, in a passive house scenario. But because of the benefit of the thermal mass, this wall actually outperforms a wood frame wall with a rated value as high as R50. Another aspect of SIREWALL is just the sheer beauty of the material. The handcrafted nature gives huge design flexibility, from subtle color variations to high contrast, quiet, simple layering to dramatic swirls of color. And the craft is really evident in the finished product, even to the point of the permanent lunch lines, which are named from the layer when the crew leaves the project for lunch, allowing the last layer to dry just a bit more before the next layer is applied. And you can see in the photo on the right, about every maybe 4 feet, there's an extra definition in the line between layers. Both the interior and exterior finished surfaces are integral to the material. So not only is maintenance reduced to almost nothing, there's no need for drywall, paint, siding, or really any treatment at all, both interior and exterior. In our project, we started by designing the aesthetics of the wall, testing color samples, designing the texture and the rhythm of the layers. The SIREWALL team built a test wall on site for the client to approve the color choices, and that test wall became an address marker and a landscape feature. Watching the build process was fascinating. You can see that the formwork for SIREWALL is much more robust than typical concrete forms. This is to handle the high compaction of the material as well as the precision of the finished wall dimension. The material is mixed on site with cement, dye, and other additives, and then filled with layers of about 4 inches at a time. And then that is tamped by hand. The installers are using hand tampers to compress each lift, achieving a very high compressive strength. And at the end of each day, a new test cylinder is actually created just so that we can actually verify the product performance, the structural performance of that wall at the site with the material mix that we're using. Pulling off the forms is always exciting. It reveals the beauty of the stone, and you can definitely see the handiwork of the craftsman. So once the SIREWALL portions were in place, our construction team, Edward Smith Construction, came in and built the rest of the house to fit within the rammed earth walls. And This shows the foundation walls, fully insulated footings. And then our drawings showing the wall section. And because of the thickness of the SIREWALL resting on this extra thick footing to carry the full thickness of the wall, we couldn't get a continuous insulation layer from below the slab to the core of the wall. So we wrapped the entire footing, setting the footing on structural foam. The wall section shows the vapor barrier in orange wrapped from below the slab up into the SIREWALL core attached to the insulation. The insulation serves as the air barrier within the wall, and then at the top of the wall, the sheathing is sealed to a top plate, which is set in Prosoco, air and water seal. That provides a bearing surface for the roof assembly. And you can see from the isometric cutaway, really, that the road-facing walls are massive and provide a great deal of privacy, and the walls facing the lake are relatively transparent. So here's the framed wall, showing the air sealing, the great attention to detail. They installed the sheathing right over the window opening so that we could test air tightness throughout the construction process. And we did several blower door tests during construction, just to make sure that the envelope quality stayed on target. The final blower door test result was 0.04 CFM per square foot of envelope, or equivalent to 1.3 ACH 50. And you can see that this building envelope is very efficient. You can see how happy that snow is just hanging out on the roof, sometimes actually longer on the roof than on the ground, showing that SIREWALL really is appropriate to just about any climate zone. This project is in climate zone 6 with 4 definite seasons, almost 7,000 heating degree days and only 370 cooling degree days. The average hottest day temperature is 86 degrees Fahrenheit and coldest day is 24 degrees. And talking to the clients, they actually have more issues with overheating on sunny winter days than anything. They're rarely cold because of that low sun coming in under the overhangs on the south side of the building. And again, the snow sits happily outside the windows right up against the glazing while the inside temps are nice and cozy. This year we had snow before Halloween and overnight lows down into the teens a few weeks ago. And the homeowners just finally turned on their heat for the first time this year, just last weekend. I talked to Rob this morning and asked him if the house was comfortable, and he said, well, I'm standing here touching the window right now and it doesn't feel any different from the wall. And we actually have 1 inch of snow on the ground today. The project is certified to the PHIUS Plus 2015 standard with a heating load of 4.6. And here's a closer look at the targets. Project is also LEED Gold certified. And using the AIA 2030 calculator, the project has a modeled energy use intensity of just 6.31 kBTU per square foot per year. So this project beats the national baseline by about 84%. And thanks to this project and the other passive house projects in our office, our portfolio qualified our firm as one of 16 to meet the AIA 2030 commitment last year. I think some of you that are on this call are probably on this list as well. I recognize a few of the names. And of course, the most important thing about this hillside cave is that the clients love it. They are very happy here. And as with any project, the team is really the critical piece to success. We were happy to work with Edward Smith Construction, certified passive house builders, Wendy Smith of 509 Design for interiors, Peter Anderson of Anderson Consulting was our rater, and of course we had fantastic clients. Thank you, and that's all I've got.
Thanks, Maren. That was great. What a beautiful project. I'm so jealous. I want to go live there.
Hey, Prudence, why don't you're on? You actually have the first question, so why don't you start things off?
All right. I have to remember what my question was. Oh, it was about the time to build. So Maren, your firm has worked on other residential passive house projects. I know that they're probably different sizes than this, and the location sometimes can have influence on how long it takes for construction to happen. But based on your experience, would you say there's additional time for doing rammed earth versus a wood frame passive house approach to single family?
I would say actual construction time on site wasn't a lot longer, but we definitely spent more time in design, working out the details, and just making sure that the connections would be bomb-proof. You know, the tying the rammed earth walls to the framed walls, looking at window openings, how we were going to handle the transition to the roof, things like that. So I would say we probably spent more time in the research and design phase, but once the crew from SIREWALL came on site, they went to work, and the process was fantastic.
So then one follow-up question on top of that, if you guys did another rammed earth passive house, since now you're famous for that, do you think that time would be shortened because you've kind of figured it out? Or do you feel like there would still be more upfront design time?
Definitely. You know, we worked out a lot of details with this project that were unique to the project, but could be used again in further projects.
Awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. Derek, are you with us?
I am. Thanks.
Fire away with your question.
Oh, the mustache is back. Hey, Maren, thank you for that. And it's funny because I think just last week we said something about, we've really kind of gone beyond those rammed earth houses and everything like that. And then like, bang, you just threw down the gauntlet on this one. Like, and everybody's just like, oh, and she said, stay down too. But the question I had was around the utilities. How do they all get installed into that wall system? You mentioned about foam, and I thought maybe you'd answer the question, but electricity, plumbing, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so again, working out the details ahead of time, you can actually run conduit either in the insulation layer or actually into the rammed earth wall itself. So like I said, very much planning ahead with every detail, because once that rammed earth is in place, it is there forever. So planning ahead, utility boxes, outlet boxes, those can all happen as long as you include those in the plan.
Well, it's 4 inches at a time, you said. Is that right? So you can actually put it in while you're doing it. That's fascinating.
Fill in conduit, right? And I think we have Mirror on the call as well. He can probably address this question better than I can. He's the king of SIREWALL, so I'll let him answer that question for you.
Is it the question about running power and water and
yeah, running utilities in?
Yeah. It goes in conduit. The electrical is simple. We try and avoid horizontal runs. There is a danger of conduit being damaged. We're very careful. It's never happened, but we prefer vertical runs, and it's easier to take all the electrical up into the attic or in the roof, where you can run it home. The water we put in conduit as well. So the PEX runs through the conduit, which is actually a safer way to run the water. Yeah, hope that answers.
Yep, no, thank you. And actually, Sam Rodell is a fan of ours with LumenCache too. So there's a page of LumenCache on his site if everyone wants to visit that.
Yeah, we just talked to the clients this morning. Another North Idaho project, and they are so on board with LumenCache. They're really excited about it.
Oh, that's great to hear. Everybody here, I think they only want me to stay on the calls here so that they can see the morning report from China.
Derek, we do that in the after, or you're pushing your luck, my friend.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Patient.
All good. No, good question. That's great. Great detail. We're going to move along because Zoe's got 2 questions. So thanks, Derek. We'll come back to you for our China update later on. Zoe, are you there?
I am. I look very yellow, but I'm here.
Yeah, I look green too, so it doesn't matter. You know, we know it's lighting. We know you're healthy. Go ahead.
Thanks. Well, thanks, first of all. Also, I really like everyone else's questions, so I'm going to try to be quick. My first question was whether you had to add some values for thermal mass in your modeling in order to make the passive house energy targets, or whether it would have made it without that, and if so, like whether you were using any external programs or just like Woofy or what you were using. And then my second question was more about SIREWALL and what happens if you need to make a penetration or a patch later on.
Yeah, they're good questions. We actually didn't ask that question. That would have been a good question to ask, but I do have the Woofy model open right now. So I'm going to go to that one line item on the static model side where we can actually address thermal mass. And I'm going to change that to lightweight and see what happens. We actually went over on cooling demand. So the thermal lag of if it were a fully lightweight construction, we're over on cooling demand. So the thermal lag does help us out there.
So it's just that drop down of, thermal mass or like.
Yeah, specific heat capacity. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, and source energy went up just a little bit, not much. And what was your second question? Oh, going back in after the fact. That's fortunately not something that we had to do, so I don't have the answer to that question. So maybe I'll throw that one back to Mara as well. Have you ever had to go back and cut into a rammed earth wall?
We had a skid steer run into a rammed earth wall, and it took a little chunk out, and so we patched that. Yeah, it is patchable. It's not going to look absolutely the same, but we've gotten a whole lot better than we used to. And yeah, if you want to run something new, like a new line down, we like to have as many outlets as possible, put in an extra outlet here and there. And if everything is run up to the top of the wall, then you can access things there and just run it down the same tube.
All right, thank you.
Excellent. And so now I missed Brian, so we'll come back to Brian. Brian, you there? And that was Brian Ketch. Yeah. Brian, you there? All right, I'll come back to Brian in a second. And we were off to John Snell had a couple of questions.
With such a thick wall, I'm wondering where the dew point is. And it's a naive question, but if the dew point is in the middle of the wall, how do you keep condensation from, I guess there's just no air, no moisture in the middle of the wall. But I'm sure you must have thought about dew point.
Well, there really is no condensing surface in the wall. So I think that question kind of becomes irrelevant. I know that Prudence has done a lot of dynamic modeling on SIREWALL and rammed earth walls. Prudence, is there a better answer to that question? I don't think that we care about dew point, first of all, because it's not a moisture risk material. It's an inorganic material. And second, there's not really a condensing surface within the wall.
Other question I had was about putting rigid foam. Did you say you put it under the footing? And
yeah. So we used a high density structural rated foam for under the footing, and then an EPS wrapping the footing and foundation walls.
And so how do you keep rodents from chewing on that later on, and just compression and settling? I'm wondering if would you use putting foam under the footing in earthquake country?
We are not really an earthquake country. We have very low seismic potential here in eastern Washington, North Idaho. But the foam is rated. I don't remember the numbers. And then pest proofing, so it's mostly underground. We where the foam meets the surface. I believe we did a barge coat to protect the foam as it transitioned to the wall. And we use, on the framed walls, we use an insect screen to protect from pests getting into the walls themselves.
It's a beautiful design and just knocked out, very awe-inspiring.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. We have Harvey next, and then Julie, and then Susan.
Hi, great presentation. It's beautiful. I just have two really quick questions. One is height restriction with them, similar to SIPs, unlike CLT. And, you know, I always have to ask, what was the cost per square foot for the build?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that question. I really tried to.
I always do. I always do.
He does. He always does.
Yeah, cost per square foot. I know it was under 400. It may have been closer to 3. I'm not sure. It's been a few years. And what was the first question? Oh, height restrictions on the SIREWALL itself.
Yes.
I know I was just on the SIREWALL website and saw that they just beat their previous record for highest SIREWALL building. I want to say it was 9 stories, but I don't want to say the wrong thing. Is that correct, Mirror? Oh, I'm not. Oh, he's muted. There we go. Yeah, 9 stories.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, no, our tallest used to be 52 feet tall in Wyoming. And then we're up at 100 feet in Islamabad, Pakistan.
Amazing.
So this is a follow-up question, timing wise, comparatively, if you were doing a CLT, would it be a lot different, like within weeks or within months, or what would you say to? Because, you know, if you really look at a basic form and you pour, if you're, you know, we're not talking concrete, we don't want to, but if you're just pouring a basic form for a foundation wall, you know, you're in and out of there hopefully within a week, and then it's curing. So I'm just curious how long, and then you're framed, and how long is this going to take to, if you had to do 2 stories, just as an example, for a regular 2-story residential home?
I would say probably the biggest difference is in time spent on site versus time spent in the fabrication. You know, the CLT panels in fabrication, once they come to the site, I've seen buildings go up in just a matter of days. But round earth is on site. It does take time. Like I said, it's a handcrafted material doing lifts of 4 inches at a time. And with the scale of round earth that we had, there was some time actually on the site for that process. So kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. Less time spent in prep work, but more on-site time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Harvey, Lloyd, you missed it. Lloyd's trying to ban you from asking questions, mainly because you keep asking about cost per square foot. So I may take him up on that. So we will ban that.
Well, you know, when Lloyd steps up and asks a question that everyone wants to hear, then he can say something about me asking a question.
all good. We're all friendly here. Come on now. Moving along, we're going to go to Julie, and then we might have to bump everyone else to the after hour. So Julie.
Sure. Hi, Maren. I don't think I would hang any art on those walls. They're absolutely stunning. I think I would just want to sit there and look at them. They're so beautiful. But technically, tell me about your MEP, ventilation, domestic hot water. What did you guys end up with here?
Yeah, good question. So we have a Unico heat pump system. I think it's a 9K heat pump with air handler inside. The Zender C550 for ventilation, and the water is the Sandin hot water system with the outside compressor and the indoor unit.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Susan, I'm just going to bump you because Monty had a question, because then I think we're going to be have to send over to Zach to wrap things up.
I'm just curious if people have done taller projects with it, 4 or 5 stories, multi-unit, like kind of what are the boundaries of this technology?
I absolutely recommend going to the SIREWALL website. Their photo gallery is gorgeous. Projects of all sizes and scales all over the world. I'm actually jealous. Mara must have just fantastic numbers of frequent flyer miles. These projects are everywhere.
Yeah. Hey, maybe I'll take this moment to say thank you an awful lot. This has been fantastic, and I look forward to hearing more in the letting you all hear more in the after hour.
Thank you.
Thanks, Monty. Zach, do you want to throw on some last minute announcements? And
yes, absolutely. Thank you. So all of the work that we do at the Accelerator is thanks to our sponsors, and so we encourage you all to support our supporters. So I want to thank our founding sponsors: Baxt Ingui Architects, Mitsubishi Electric, Train HVAC US, RDH Building Science, StoCorp, and Zola Windows. Our stakeholder partner is NYSERDA, and our patron sponsors are Morrison Hershfield, 475 High Performance Building Supply, and Partel. So thank you very much to our sponsors for making all of this happen. Next week, we have a great program for the happy hour. We have Marissa Ehie and Elena Reyes, who will be presenting about a passive house pilot program in Mexico. So super cool to be having a presentation, another presentation that encapsulates the kind of the global piece of the global passive house happy hour. So we hope you join us. Before then, though, tomorrow we have our Passive House Prefab Summit, and this is being presented thanks to the generous support of 475 High Performance Building Supply as our summit sponsor. And we're going to be inviting 6 leading manufacturers from North America to talk about passive house and prefab and challenges, lessons learned, where they distribute, all that kind of stuff. And it's already there will be hundreds of people on this call. We hope that you'll all join us. And I will share registration information in the chat. We also are about to release the first episode or host the first episode of the Passive House Accelerator Construction Tech event, which happens every Tuesday. And this one will be focused in part on the crazy big Lamelux skylight installed at a New York City project. So, and we saw a little bit of a video teaser of that. Unfortunately, at this moment, I don't have the registration info and page, but we'll have that ready by tomorrow, and we'll be sending that information out in our newsletter, so you can get information about that there. Thank you.
So many great things in the work from the Passive Accelerator. It is exciting times. When you think you just have the happy hour, now you got all this other great stuff. So thanks to Michael and Zach and the team with Mary and Sydney and Ray. That just it's amazing how all their hard work is paying off with all this information.
Absolutely. I need to call you out, Sean, and Mark Wiley and Kevin Brennan, who will be our co-hosts of this series, and then we'll also have guests rotating in. And I know Prudence will be one of those early on. So lots of great folks. Thank you. Yeah, we're lucky to have so many educators around North America, and we're going to be pulling them all in to make sure that they get their opportunity to talk about details. And I mean, most of them probably were taught by Kevin. I know I was taught by Marcel and Sandra, who took Kevin's course. So great to have him kind of directing us and making sure it's there. And Mark's enthusiasm to bring some really great people is going to be exciting. So when you think that you just had one event to show up to, now we're making you show up to 2. And it again too is for you that know tradespeople that want to learn about passive house, this is really targeted for them. So send them to the event. Okay, Prudence, do you want to wrap up the
happy hour, and we'll dive into the after hour.
Sure thing. Well, thank you, Maren, for sharing your amazing project with us. Thank you all for joining. I hope you guys can stick around into the after hour, where we'll have more questions and more fun times. And if it's time for you to go have dinner or whatever you need to do, we hope to see you back next week.
Excellent. All right, everyone, if you got to go, you got to go. Otherwise, we're going to keep Maren around. We still have got about 4 or 5 questions, I think, in the queue. So first off, again, if Maren, just because I know you've been talking so long, you're probably thirsty. So cheers to you for an excellent presentation and a beautiful, beautiful project.
Thank you.
And let me just.
I think it was me, Sean.
Yes, there. Yes, because Monty bumped you. So you've got 2 questions. Go for it. And yes, the after hour has begun.
Yay! Thank you. Yeah, beautiful. I do have to laugh because I do think it was even last happy hour that we were making jokes about how we've moved away from rammed earth, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna. Oh no, not rammed earth. And then it's so beautiful, and then I'm like, oh no, it's so beautiful. Sorry. So my question is. Just wondering, maybe I missed it, but what kind of stone, rock, sand, what is the product that goes into that rammed earth? I heard you say insulation, but what exactly is that? It's like you're not just taking what's lying on the ground and dumping it in. It's more than that, is it? That was my first question.
It's good question. It's very research based. So the project team will actually come out to the site and they'll go to local sand and gravel pits, and what we're looking for is actually just, it's material that is generally too small to be used for roadbed, which kind of the big customer for a sand and gravel pit is roadbed material. So it's just above the bedrock layer, and it's kind of a sand gravel, very fine gravel mix of a certain size that compacts well. And then that is blended with additives, whether you need a hydrophobic property or something like that, additives and dye and cement. And then that's what is used to.
So they don't, it's probably not the best thing if they were to take some earth from the site because it has to
generally the site wouldn't provide exactly the product you need.
Great. Yeah. And then my next question was about, I heard that was zone 6. I'm in Toronto, zone 5 or colder. And I'm just curious, how does that look in a colder climate, that product?
It actually functions really well with the insulation. With the insulation layer, the R value is R33. And because of the thermal mass on the inside of the insulation, we can really take advantage of the solar gain, absorbing that heat and sort of evening out the extremes of temperature throughout the day and night.
Great. Well, thanks so much for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Susan.
Sean, before we get the next question, you told me that this is the moment when I get to share the blooper reel. I saved a story for the after hour.
You know what? We're going to wait 1 second for that, only because I have some exciting news. Our young, talented Dylan wants to give away one of his dad's shirts. So
I just want to say I never win. Okay, I never win.
Oh,
it's okay. I haven't won either. Don't worry. So yeah.
Okay, so we'll do our best, Susan. But Dylan may have only entered your name once, but maybe you got to bribe him somehow. So for those that haven't seen this part of the after hour, is we're gonna spin the wheel and hopefully give away a lovely T-shirt that some of us have. So, Dylan,
can you see stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sharing. Okay, so that's step 1. Okay, so step 2 is I spin the wheel. You can't see the names. I can't see the names, but we'll see it once it stops. So yeah, hopefully it works. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, it's working. Oh.
Yep, it's going.
I can't believe you did that 94 names in like 3 minutes. That's I'm sure you figured out some way to do this faster.
No.
Wow, that's fast.
I wish I did. Okay. So is it gonna do I have to stop it? Or maybe?
I don't know how this works. You're in control, my friend.
Dylan's going to know absolutely everybody better than we all know each other.
Totally.
Well, I'm working on the wheel right now, but we'll see. Okay.
That's a lot of
This
spinning.
looks about as fixed as the election.
This is spinning a lot. Yeah, this reminds me of something. Not sure what, but oh, wait, is it arrow? Does that mean it's like stopping?
Was Lloyd just asking a question, or was that just a comment? I want to know. I want to make sure. I'm a little bit stunned.
Just a comment. Just a comment.
I'm just gonna start preparing as if that's not gonna work.
I think it's safe to say that's a code built. That's a code built wheel. That's definitely a code built wheel.
Yes.
Low performance wheel.
I'm just gonna
calculus on his website. Advanced calculus.
Wheel decider. Okay, no, but like I wanna make my own wheel.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We're all
gonna watch you.
We'll be back.
We'll come back.
Make a rammed earth wheel or not? Is that possible? Like Fred Flintstone?
So that wheel didn't
rammed
work.
earth one?
We're gonna watch Dylan do the wheel live.
That's it. We'll come back. We got lots of questions to keep going with. So thanks, Susan, for those questions.
We need Barney Rubble right now for that.
Susan, Michael had a question about Michael from Bethlehem. Is Michael still with us?
Hey, yeah, you said that the R33 wall had the equivalent performance of an R50 traditional wood frame exterior insulation type wall. Do you know what price-wise, like what the ballpark range is of the rammed earth versus like the R50? Square footage is off limits on the whole house.
It's a lot more expensive. SIREWALL is not an inexpensive product. Per square foot cost, I can't put an exact number on it, but it's many times more expensive than a framed wall. But we believe that cost is offset. Compared to the overall cost of the project, that line item wasn't a huge percentage. But just the added durability, the beauty of it. And then again, you're offsetting costs with not having to finish the inside surface. There's no drywall, no paint, all of the labor associated with that. And then there's also no exterior siding required. There's no, the SIREWALL is inside finish and outside finish wherever you see it in this house.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, just going back to the list. Ray Clemens, you're next, and I think there's a couple more people. So,
hey everybody. I thought since we have Mirror on the call, I could ask him this question. I'm a rammed earth builder in Tucson, and I've been watching SIREWALL for a long time. And the foam inside has always been like one of those things that's great, but wondering if there's some R&D in the works to replace that foam with something more natural. Are you guys experimenting with that? Are you seeing anything show up?
We knew that question was going to come up. I actually had an email conversation with Mirror about that before the call because I knew someone was going to ask it. Thank you for being the one.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we get that a lot. And there's a lot of different rabbit holes you can go down to when you are looking at what is the best insulation. And, we've done a couple of Living Building Challenge projects. We have a relationship with Jason McLennan. We built the walls for his house. And so what we do is we ask him, what's the best insulation, and that's what we use. And it's changed over time. Sometimes he says something and sometimes he says something else, and we have no attachment. If a client thinks that they want to have, I don't know, some kind of insulation they prefer for whatever reason, we can go with that. But usually our fallback is to just do what Jason recommends, and that's because that's what we're committed to, being the greenest possible and not to any particular insulation.
Did you say that you have used Gutex in a rammed earth wall?
No, I haven't.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
How about mineral wool? Is that a viable alternative?
Right. Yeah, I'm just wondering what you've tried that's standing up to the tamping around it, not getting smushed.
Yeah, we've tried mineral wool. We've tried But this, you know, there are now, we invented the insulated rammed earth and we're the only people doing it for the first 13 years. And now there's a number of people doing it around the world. And they say, well, of course you put the foam in the middle. And, but you know, that wasn't our first thought. Our first thought was to make a void in the middle where we run all our plumbing and wiring with full access to it. And then later on we fill it full of zonalite or something like that. And then we thought of having zonalite rammed in with the soil, and finally we ended up with a foam and settled on that. And I forgot what your question was.
No, I think that's fine. That kind of answers, you know, my queries about how you got there.
Yeah.
And you're not really going, there's no real land ahead, you know, besides foam at the moment.
Nothing that we think is better.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, someday it might show up.
Yeah. I mean, if it is, awesome.
Looking forward
Yeah.
to it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. Doing great work.
Thanks, Ray. All right, I got Paul and Laura queued up and Harvey, but Maren, why don't we show your blooper reel and then we'll see where Dylan's at. And so we got lots going on here today. Stay with us.
Okay, so now I can share my story?
Yes.
I saved a story for this moment. Thank you. Okay, so the first fall after the clients moved into the home, they called us to complain that the house was always way too warm, and they were, you know, getting out of the summer months and into fall, and then even into late fall, outdoor temperatures were cooling off. The house was just always too hot. And so we did some looking into that, and we found that they were running their electric radiant floor heat and a towel warmer in the master bath. So they just wanted warm floors right outside the master bath shower, between the shower and the tub. So we just did a little loop of electric radiant heat, not much at all. It was probably 120 volt, not even 240. I don't know what the output was, but they were just running that 24/7. So we ran this dynamic model to see if we could reproduce what was going on. And you can see what happened to the cooling loads with that additional heat. So not only did the cooling load increase, but there was a huge increase in the time of year that it was needed. So instead of a 6-month cooling period, it turned into a 9-month cooling period going all the way into December, and actually exceeding the capacity of the cooling capacity of their system. And then we also found that the rammed earth wall was acting like a battery, or just a very efficient heat distribution system. So the rammed earth wall was soaking up that little input of heat from the master bath and just spreading that throughout the entire house. And just the house was just not comfortable. They were running their air conditioning in November. And so we ran this dynamic model to kind of convince them that they didn't need to have that on all the time. And their answer was, but the cat loves it. They were running, they had the radiant floor heat set to high 24/7 for the cat, so the cat could lay there on the tile floor. So there is the picture of the cute cat for anyone that loves online cute cat photos. And for anyone that doesn't love cat photos, I also included a mechanical room photo. There you go.
Nice, Maren. That's great. I like both. I like cats and mechanical rooms. Next time, can you ask them to take a picture of their cat in the mechanical room?
Yes.
That would be just the ultimate in photo, like everything we ever wanted, right?
That would be perfect.
Maren, do you have your cat thermostat image?
Oh, I didn't pull that one up. I forgot about that one. Yeah. Yeah, it shows a cat. So in one presentation I did on HVAC system, there's a cat sprawled out along the floor, and you know, this is cold, and then a cat curled up on a rug. Cold, warm cat thermostat.
Awesome. So cool. All right, Dylan, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You've got your high performance wheel now?
I believe so.
You threw the 5 passives principles at it and cranked it up?
Yeah, we'll say that. Let me
right.
see. Okay. So
Hey, this looks like
I
the one that
believe
we
this
used to have. This is good.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm pretty sure it works. Keyword pretty sure. But okay. I'm just gonna click it and see what happens. Okay. It spins. Okay.
I think we need a wheel door test.
Yeah, what's the fan speed on that spin?
Okay, so we have our first winner, Louisa. Congratulations. I don't know who you privately messaged. Probably Zach.
Yeah. Louisa,
okay.
Louisa, reach out to me. And let's make sure that you're here. Actually, can you
I'm
unmute
here.
yourself?
Yes.
All right.
She's been here since the beginning, so she's deserved it.
Fantastic, Louisa. Congratulations. Please text me your mailing address.
Can I just put it in the text?
In
private chat.
Yeah,
Email
private
me.
chat.
Can I put it in the chat?
Privately, yeah.
Wait, do we need to appoint another elector, or is Dylan satisfactory? Sorry.
You
I
just
couldn't help myself.
go with the data, Prudence.
Yeah.
None of that baloney matters. The data is what matters.
Yes, that's
This
right.
is the second time I've had tears in my eyes.
The sad part is it like just passed Lloyd. Like it's so sad. Like look at the arrow.
Lloyd already got
Lloyd is
his.
taken care of.
He's fine. He's done. We're good. We
True,
can
but
move
it would
on.
have been really ironic.
pity.
Dylan, shh. Dylan,
I have a
quiet.
shirt. I'm happy.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna spin it
Paul
again.
and I
Okay.
should be on there twice. We're 2 people.
True.
Not
This is true.
fair.
That's true. That is not fair.
If
You
it
are
comes
right.
to it, we'll give you both.
Y'all think about it next time.
That is some evidence of fraud right there.
Okay, Rohan, congratulations. You are our second winner of the night.
Again, they got to be here to win.
Are you here?
Rohan, are you here?
Pending.
Rohan, are you here?
Oh no! Looks like no. Spin it again. Got to be here to
I
win.
thought the rule was it had to go around at one time. It looks like it's only moved.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's an illusion, right?
Yeah,
it's like looking
it's-
at the propeller on the plane for us, right? We're not actually seeing the real
I think
movement.
it's like those wheels, those spinners, I think they're called, aren't they?
Yeah.
David, are you still here?
I'm here.
There you go.
All right, David. This
Winner,
is
winner,
Zach in
chicken
Seattle.
dinner.
Please.
I'm gonna drive
please,
past Lloyd's
yeah,
house with it on.
Yeah.
What
Send
do
me
you guys-
your address and your preferred size. Thank you.
Now, Laura, since you just came on, either you or Paul had a question, so fire away.
I was wondering about the carbon footprint of the product. You've got local sourcing, but you still have concrete. Has anyone done a calculation with that and also the foam?
I have not. I don't know the carbon footprint. I know that we were really happy about the lack of transportation required. Like I said, the product came from maybe 15 or 20 minutes drive away from the site. And the material really is mostly just that sand and gravel mix. The cement content is fairly low, and yeah, the foam. So I'm not sure overall what the carbon footprint is of the material.
Right.
My son has done carbon footprint analysis. We tend to shy away from short-term conversations like what's the initial cost, what's the initial embodied energy, what's the initial carbon footprint. In preference, we like life cycle costing, life cycle carbon footprint, life cycle embodied energy, because if we keep just looking at short-term, we're, as a species, I believe we're doomed. So
did you have a life cycle?
my son has done that research in working with Living Building Challenge. I don't have that data.
Can you provide it for us so we can see it?
Yeah.
After info?
Yeah, I'll yeah.
That would be great. Thank you.
We'll follow up and get that off you. That's great.
Sure. Yep.
So I think we're caught up in all the questions. Harvey had one more. So Harvey.
Yeah, I was just wondering, everyone's been talking about the foam. What does SIREWALL without foam, what was the R value for that? I'm just really, really curious.
I think I saw an answer. An answer in the chat.
It's 0.25 per inch.
Yeah, 0.25.
0.25 per inch. Okay,
Not very much.
Okay. And just for Lloyd, one more time, what's dollars per square foot?
I like somebody threw in there, what was it? How many feet per dollar instead? If the dollars per square foot question is illegal,
yeah.
How many feet per dollar? How much enjoyment per dollar?
Would you like to answer that right now or not?
I'd like to answer it.
Okay, go ahead.
So we have started, we don't think the dollar per square foot is a very healthy question. It leads to a race to the bottom. And so, yeah, things are going to cost a certain amount, but as a decision-making tool, what matters is what is the ecosystem that you're designing. And I think this fits in quite well with Passive House. So we talk in terms of ecosystem. How do you want your ecosystem to perform? And it's a new conversation. And mostly people, when they think of what they're getting 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a particular architectural aesthetic, you know, West Coast modern or whatever it is. But really there's a lot more than that, because you're looking at what is the humidity, and what are the acoustics, and what is the EMF conditions, and what are the you've got so many things to consider. And so that in thinking of an ecosystem, that it takes it down a different path. And I think we desperately need to find some different way to talk about costs. So if you can get clear with a client what ecosystem they're after, and then once you know what they want, then look at what the cost is. So, you know, if it's cost first, then it's typically what's underlying that is we want the maximum amount of square feet.
Well, I think if, you know, with Passive House, you want to go with a compact building anyway, but it's a very interesting concept. I just run into walls with dollars per square foot all the time. I just spent the last day and a half doing 5 scenarios on a renovation. So I'm very sensitive to it, and that's why I asked the question. But you have a very valid point of where are we going anyway, and maybe to get people into the ecosystem, they're gonna have to make a trade. There'll be a trade-off on size, but that's sort of what Passive House is all about. There's a trade-off. But anyway, thank you so much, Maren. That was great. Thanks,
thank you.
guys.
Yeah, so
And
we have done.
Thanks, John.
We have done some.
Go ahead, Mara.
Okay, yeah, so we've just done some analysis comparing a 2,000 square foot rancher stick frame with a 2,000 square foot SIREWALL, and the SIREWALL cost 15% more, and people say that's not so bad until they realize they have to give up specific rooms. And so it's, or they don't have the money, but it's actually, you have 15% less space. That's all. You know, it doesn't cost more, it just, you have less space.
Mm-hmm. I think we always have to consider the health benefits. You know, you can't place a cost on your health. Health is priceless, really. So if we're talking about a material that is inert, there's no toxins, there's no VOCs released. And I think the health benefits are a really strong argument.
No, absolutely. All right, everyone. We're kind of wrapped up for questions, but the fun doesn't stop. Let's again go to a breakout room, and again we can talk about what we've just learned and what we found interesting, and share that with our peers. So I'll let Zach hit the magic wheel for the breakout rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's good timing, because we just heard some provocative ideas about ecosystems and health and cost. So please gnash on that in your small groups here. We'll give you about 8 or 9 minutes to get into it. So please enjoy. Welcome back.
Well, thank you, Zach. I got the earth wall man all to myself for that whole time, and I learned a lot.
Wow.
Excellent.
For me about
wow.
our
Score deal.
Seattle, which is a very good organization.
Excellent. We did have one question to come back to. Sorry, I just got to figure out who that was. Sorry, I was trying to pull up the chat because give me a second here. Bear with me, everyone. Hopefully had a good breaker room. We'll come talk about that in a second. Harvey, we'll come back to you about your tradesperson question. I like that though. I love helping you out on that. But before there was somebody, and I made a note to come back to them because they private messaged me. Bear with me, everybody.
It was me, Sean.
Thank you. There we go. I like it when people just hop in. Go ahead, Michael, ask your question.
There's two questions. I looked on your website for some information regarding the tensile and compressive strength, and all I saw was compressive strength, but it didn't state whether that was reinforced or not reinforced, and also didn't state what it was reinforced with. So can you talk to that, and can you also talk to about acoustical rating, OITC rating, or things along those lines?
Yeah, so the strength, around earth historically has been, in Europe, they're not using cement and they're getting about 1 MPa. Oh, wait a second, this is mostly American. So let's say mostly they're getting about 150 PSI. And then most rammed earth builders get about 750 PSI when they add some cement. They don't have the science of soil. And we're getting a minimum of 3,000 PSI. My son did a project in Seattle, the 2NU project. It's a 34-story building, and the bottom has SIREWALLs being used to stabilize the columns. Anyways, the requirement was 7,000 PSI, and he achieved that with our mix design using pozzolans, and he's into it. So that's the strength. Tensile strength is 10% of the compressive strength. So that answers that. What was your second question? Oh, you're muted. You're still muted.
We had a question about panelizing. Since you compact it on site, if it was to be panelized, it would be moving, and moving would somehow or another break up the compaction, and that would impact. So this isn't a product that could be panelized off site, correct?
Well, yeah, if there was a massive influx of cash, we could set up a factory and do that. There is an outfit in Germany that does panels in a huge warehouse, and they move them. They're unreinforced and unstabilized. So it's just raw dirt that's been compacted, and they use that in the interiors of big buildings to stabilize temperature and humidity.
That's interesting. That's an interesting application. My other question was acoustic values.
Acoustic, yeah, sound transmission class is what I'm familiar with. I haven't looked at the numbers lately, but you could, what slows down the passage of sound is mass and the use of materials of different density, and we have both in spades. So you have typically, an 8 to 12 inch wall, which is a density approaching concrete. And then we got typically 4 to 8 inches of foam, and then more rammed earth. So you end up with STC 70 or more. So like you could set a cannon off on one side and you wouldn't hear it on the other side, I think.
In the city, in New York City, they're getting more to OITC because they're looking to block specific frequencies as opposed to just a sound transmission coefficient. If you had a voice of children versus cars, so that was a little different. So that might be something to look at too.
I'm not familiar with that, but I'm sure that the SIREWALL will perform excellently. I mean, sound is a wavelength, and passes through materials by causing them to vibrate, and you're not going to vibrate a SIREWALL. You know, I can't see it.
Great presentation. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Michael. We were going to have Mike Ingwe come on and ask a question, but you stole it from him. So, oh, just double checking. I think we got everybody. Is everyone happy? Did they got asked all the right questions?
Can I ask a question from Aaron real quick?
Yeah, Aaron, fire away.
Yeah, hey, Maren. Just I may have missed this, but what did you use with the modeling of the thermal mass within the passive house software? Did you use Woofy Passive, or what did you use, and how did you incorporate it? It's more of a technical question, but what was the metrics used for the thermal mass, and how did you make the calculations for energy loadings?
Yeah, so we did model this project in Woofy, and the specific heat capacity setting, we calculated that to 24, which was probably a very conservative estimate for the actual performance of the thermal mass. You know, we just calculated heavy surfaces per room and averaged that throughout the building and came up with a specific heat capacity of 24, as opposed to 11 for a lightweight framed building.
Gotcha. Okay, that's great. That answers my next question, which was going to be because of the different locations of the walls, how you address that as well. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just
great
averaged.
Presentation.
Thank you. And we also took into account the slab, because of course this is a slab on grade, so we've got a 5-inch slab floor acting as a thermal mass as well.
What was the R value of the installation of the slab?
Under the slab, I believe we had, let's see. We had just 4 inches of EPS under the slab, so that would be about an R16.
Beautiful, thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions?
It's a great presentation.
Yeah, Michael, did you, I think the other Michael asked your question.
Yeah, so. Michael was the person in my chat who asked that question about portability, which was answered pretty well. So thanks.
Excellent.
Any issues about the lower portion of the building over time with the splash and dirt and stuff like that?
I think we addressed that pretty well with the landscaping. You know, we paid attention to the drip lines of the roof, and we created a gravel, sort of gravel bed around where water would cascade off the edge of a roof. And with the landscape design, we really don't have much splashback. I think if there were any, it wouldn't be any big deal at all to pressure wash that. You know, the surface itself is really like a stone. It's not what's the word? Not a glossy texture, like what am I trying to say? Like a tile or ceramic tile or something like that, but the texture of the surface really doesn't grab anything.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, excellent detail. Well, Maren, I think you're off the hook now, unless there's anyone else that wants to come in. Again, thank you for staying later than, well, I mean, we kind of always pull the presenters to stay later than they probably wanted to, but thank you for doing that. Great presentation, great answers, and thank you very much. And again, thank you for everyone else for asking questions, and Maren for stepping in there and answering some as well. It's great. There's a couple things that I'll dive into next, but if there's anyone else does anyone else want to come on and talk about any exciting things that they are working on, Passive House related? Any newses? Any plaques being installed on any of your projects this week? Don't worry, Derek, we'll come to you about China. I haven't forgot about you, but I will first though go to Mark, because I see he's there, and I'm a big fan of his image behind him. So Mark, you can go ahead and talk about what's happening on Fridays, BS Fridays, so we can see the amazing video that Adam created for you and talk about Friday. Oh, you're muted. It's so funny. We like created a solid mute on you, Mark. This is what we did.
Come on.
There you go.
So over the moon that we got to start out with Michael crying, and later on, I would cry at that big of skylight too. That's a breath view of the stars. And then over the moon about the best facade we've had of all the 30 some accelerators, both interior and exterior. Maren, that was beautiful. Bless your heart. So what am I talking about, Friday or Tech Tuesday, Sean?
Both. I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk about all the good stuff you're up to.
Sweet. So we're very thrilled this Friday. BS Fridays is 10 Pacific and 1 Eastern. We have, I don't know how this happened. It's probably each of you. We have about 816 people registered so far. And I hope that LinkedIn starts recognizing that building science is better than kittens and poems on LinkedIn. That's pretty exciting. So that link is in the chat. Zach puts it out all the time, and bless your hearts for people who share with your friends. And
that's friends with PH, by the way, everyone, just so you know.
Yeah, friends with a PH always. And then Tuesday, every Tuesday, Construction Tech. We're blessed to have Kevin Brennan, who you caught in the video today, with the wonderful Red Door of Truth, and Sean. He's got things prepared for you, and I'm not going to let it out of the bag. So we've been working on this for several weeks collectively with Michael and Zach and the team, and several weeks before that uncollectively. So every Tuesday, Construction Tech. We all know that construction is massive, and this is one of the best, if not the most impressive group of engineers and architects, designers out there. So if y'all reach out to the construction professionals that you've been involved with over time, this will be technical. This will involve technique, and this will be about technology. So you'll hear that again, and hope to see you all at 7 o'clock Eastern every Tuesday.
Thanks, Mark. Again, great stuff. And again, I'll always love the stuff that you're putting out there. And again, Adam is a whiz on your backgrounds. So fantastic stuff. And to add another T in there is hopefully we'll show some really cool tools. And unfortunately, jigs doesn't start with a T. But I want to highlight again just some jigs that different clients have used to just help them, streamline their processes. So, exciting stuff that the Passive Accelerator is involved in. It's pretty great. Derek, sorry, buddy. Yeah, what's going on in China today? What's going on with the cranes? What's the view like today?
Yeah, it's funny that everybody just wants to see the view. Nothing that I'm.
Well, you know what, Derek? It's really just me. No one ever says they actually want to go to you, but I just do. So you're feeling mighty. And the fact that, I've dragged 32 other people here and they haven't clicked off yet. So I guess they care about it too. Again, just the scale that over 35 weeks of what's happened in your backyard. It's just interesting. Oh, Jeff likes cranes.
There's few cranes, but the diggers have been digging out from underneath. So they built those structures, and then now they went underneath all of it, digging down about 5 or 6 meters and exposing the pilings that they had drilled before. So it's pretty amazing to see. And then I think, these guys, in case people haven't seen, these are 50-story buildings. All the ones around us here are all about 35. That's an echo. And then there's lots of fascinating things that we've talked about having to do with the way they build here and the outdoor kitchens and the fact that the air conditioning units are all kind of buried in the walls outside. So, I love what we're doing with the construction techniques. So hopefully we'll get lots of synergy between the ways we build around the world.
No, absolutely. Very, very cool. Again, just the scale always blows me away. Excellent. Okay, Derek, you stay safe. We will catch up to you next week always, just because, again, I always like to see what you're up to. So good stuff. So we got about 12 minutes left, and I know Prudence had to leave, but I wanted to go back. She actually gave us some homework about 4 or 5 weeks, and we never got a chance. Oh, I'll, Zach, if you want to, oh, here we go. Just gonna remove the spotlight. I think now, am I on the spotlight? Uh-oh. Zach, you gave me the power, and I think I screwed it up.
Are you playing with, you got spotlight power, huh?
Oh, I didn't mean to do spotlight power. Again, too many of these fancy toys. I just like putting mustaches and you know, backgrounds on. I don't like dealing with that stuff. No. So yeah, we've got 11 minutes, and I just kind of want to talk about you know, a little bit of the homework of what we can do individually as well as a collective. And you know, we've always just kind of talked about is it's great that we show up here every week and we take the knowledge and we are lucky to have presenters to share these amazing projects. And again, I mean, we thought about this 35 weeks ago. We didn't think that one would be here, and two, how amazing this has turned out to be. And so the question now is, what can we do and add a little bit more? And so want to point out, and again, I'm kind of going on the fly here because we just kind of ran out of time, was one thing that my family did is we've got, let me just see if I can do this. Again, bear with me here, folks. I'm going to take you away from in my office here. We talked about, you know, things we can do within our families and kind of takeaways is what? It's not working?
No, it's awesome. It's entertaining to watch the mustache try to keep up with your lip.
Hey, it's how fast I can grow it.
I mean, I'm totally focused on your words and not distracted by the mustache.
I wasn't listening to a single word.
Wait. Ears have mustaches? Apparently so.
Grows there when you get older.
I'll try. I feel you. I think most of us are there as well.
All right, Sean, I felt something really good coming on. Go for it.
Yes. So what I wanted to show you here was just something that my family has done. So you can just see there's some Post-it notes behind me, but this is like the St. Amour family's brainstorming session that we had, and we kind of keep doing it. And here the mustache is going to chase me again. Is on how the St. Amours are going to save the human race. And I just want to throw it out to you, to individuals as well, as we talk about the climate crisis and in our efforts. And we've talked with, you know, Passive House from a housing point of view is one of the main ways that we can help out with our climate goals, Paris goals. And but a lot of times we talk about it on the show, we talk about how we do it, but we don't actually put some action steps. And so one of the homework items that we discussed was, you know, what can you do individually? What can you do as your family? And so I just want to let you know that my takeaway from Prudence homework was to meet with my family. And so I live with my wife and 2 daughters and my in-laws. And so we started having this discussion. I mean, and at the same time, I mean, it is tough to take the items and put them into, you know, action steps. But I think when we start to have more of these conversations, and it is fun talking with people of different ages and see what's important. And so I just, is there things that people are doing out there that you might want to just comment on that you feel is important when it comes to the climate crisis and saving our planet? And really, I mean, we're the planet will figure itself out. It's really about saving the humans. So yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there to anybody. If anyone has any really interesting thing that they're doing in addition to designing and building passive houses.
I got into this whole subject of zero energy houses and super efficient buildings almost 25 years ago. And about 15 years ago, got into the passive house mode. But in the process, I informed 2 of my grandsons of the fact. They were like 7 and 11, I think, at the time, and told them that this was one of the reasons I was changing, was to contribute more to creating a better environment for everybody. And were they blown away? Grandpa, what are you doing? And from that point on, every time I come in contact with them, what are you doing now, Grandpa? What are you doing now? So they're super interested young people out there, and they're going to be the savior of all of this. So get next to them.
I agree.
Yeah, there's,
Good words.
I know you guys, we laugh about me being here and what I'm doing, but the hardest part is the family side of this is difficult. I did what many generations of oftentimes men would do, which was they would go out to a foreign land in conquest and trying to find trade or whatever resources they needed to be able to send money back to their home someday. And essentially that's what I did. I had to come here to learn, but I have 3 boys that I miss terribly and don't get to see all the time. I mean, fortunately we have Zoom, which, you know, most people in my position over the last few generations didn't have, but it doesn't make that any easier to sometimes. And this past year was particularly difficult because usually I could travel, you know, it's 24 hours of travel, you know, 17-hour flight sometimes, but at least, you know, you can do that. So, but part of the reason that I did this thing was because I had the capability to change the way we consumed some of the electricity in homes dramatically. And we're going to see reports about this coming out this year. But, you know, the journey that it took to get here was very difficult. So for each one of you who are doing this out of a personal passion, know that I support you 100%. And I really appreciate being in the same group of people.
Well said, Derek.
Mm-hmm.
I have a personal story of triumph. So many of you know that I'm not a fan of flying, and I think airports would make great farms. But I learned that from my great grandparents. My great grandfather was a farmer, and his wife was a teacher, and so he lived till about 96. And so he was my best friend growing up, and his daughter is my grandmother, who turns 100 this Sunday. And the philosophy that she always taught, because she was ahead of her time. So this is a lady that's 100, and when I was growing up, she was president of the bank in our town. And the philosophies that I learned was by examples. And so whenever they moved over time, the fridge was empty. The pile of pencils that are this long was extensive, and the rubber bands were always used. And so what I was taught was, if you don't have it, then you don't need it. And what you have to use. And so when you get that passed on from generations, Sean, you mentioned your house is various ages of generations. That's what I felt too. So my great grandfather could have bought another suit in his life as he got shorter and shorter. And instead he showed up in the same suit, but the pants always fit. And of course he didn't know how to sew. His fingers didn't function because he was a farmer. You often lose function of some fingers, but he was able to make them shorter by stapling, because the ladies don't notice the staples. And so I learned from these people that happened to live very long and never went to a doctor. And so I think family and community is a blessing for all of us. And this family and this community is certainly a blessing that the world needs to hear more about.
I completely agree, Mark. And again, we got a couple minutes here, and I just got the dinner bell, so I'll try to wrap this up with a couple of things. One is I just saw a note there from Jeff, and I agree. You know, Zach a few weeks ago gave a really good speech about social justice, and I think that is the key. That again is one is, you know, if we hurt each other, there's no point saving each other, and so we need to be kind and be safe. At the same time, you know, you look at Maslow's laws of hierarchy. You know, shelter, safety, security, health, you know, food. Those are the top 5 things, and so when we're looking at them all and trying to do really good things, then, you know, we have a purpose. And so I would be doing this event if one person showed up, and the fact that we get between, you know, 100 and 200 people is amazing. And I'm super excited every Wednesday. I think some of you are, where this is the best part of my week. You know, I feel very fortunate that you all come here and share the same interest and enthusiasm for creating amazing shelters and buildings for all of us. And since we're spending more time in these spaces, we got to take care of them, and we got to make sure that they're comfortable, healthy, energy efficient, so that they can be durable and resilient and last hundreds of years. And at the same time, we got to have fun with them, and that fun was with a PH. So on that note, I'm going to wrap this week up. I appreciate all of you. So thank you guys and ladies for coming. Again, I got motivation and passion to go do my work for another 7 days, so I can we can come back and do this again. So thank you all. Zach, Mike, thanks again for creating the accelerator so we can do this. Again, you guys are supported by now an amazing team, and it's growing, and the community is growing, and everyone just go build some goddamn passive houses so we can scale this thing and accelerate it. That's it. I'm out.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Maren. Good night, everybody.
Stay safe.